Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition Show, 2024 MLB Trade Deadline Recap. We are going to go over every deadline deal that has been made over the past 24 hours plus, and even tracking back to the start of the weekend. So this is going to be in order from most recent to, I guess it would be to Friday. So, right at the buzzer, pretty much, the Dodgers acquired Jack Flaherty from the Tigers. I think that is a fabulous trade for the Dodgers. Really good fit in that division with some of the weaker offenses, such as Colorado's and San Francisco. And Flaherty, obviously, was in a weak division prior. So this is a three-way. So the Dodgers get Jack Flaherty and Kevin Kiermaier. The Tigers get Thairo Lozano, the catcher first baseman, and shortstop Trey Sweeney, the former Yankee farmhand. And the Blue Jays get lefty Ryan Yarbrough. The Dodgers win this deal, hands down. Flaherty can slide right into the middle of the rotation. Who knows when Yamamoto comes back? You got Clayton Kershaw back, and you needed some sort of pitching reinforcements with that team. And then Kiermaier is a fourth outfielder, excellent defensive player. Sweeney, this is the second time he's traded. I don't like prospects that get traded multiple times before hitting the big leagues. We're not sure about that. And then the Tigers get also a Thairo Lozano. We'll see about that. And then the Jays get a commodity in Ryan Yarbrough. He was bounced around the last couple of years. He had his best moments with the Rays, obviously, several years ago. And then the Dodgers had him. Now the Jays have him. So he's pitched in the AL East before. So that is obviously a very interesting trade. So a very monster trade, and probably the one of the better trades or the acquisitions of the deadline. The Padres getting reliever Tanner Scott and righty reliever Brian Hoeing from the Marlins for lefty Robbie Snelling, righty Adam Mazur, infielder Graham Pauley, and infielder Jay Beschers. So the 2, the 4, the 5, and the 24 go to Miami. And the Padres get somebody with a 1.18 ERA and 53 strikeouts, and was an all-star for the first time in his career. And Hoeing, 2.7 ERA and 16 appearances. Two really good additions to the Padres bullpen. You have to consider them now as a real contender for one of the NL wildcard spots, and dare I say, a value play to be like the Diamondbacks of this year or the Phillies of 2 years ago in the National League for somebody to unseat the Dodgers, and this year the Phillies. So I love the deal for the Padres. And on the flip side, Miami did very well. Snelling, not just the number 2 prospect in the Padres system, 44 overall in baseball. So the Marlins do an excellent job of refurbishing their farm system here as well. Guardians get Alex Cobb from the Giants for lefty Jacob Bershanen, and a player to be named later. Bershanen, not a top 30 prospect. So Cobb was a all-star last year for the Giants. To me, this is a big risk for the Guardians, considering that Cobb's coming off an injury. He was supposed to make his season debut tomorrow against Oakland, but there was a blister that ended up on his right index finger. And then he's recovering from off-season surgery on his left hip. So, risky trade for the Guardians. And I think it's a trade for San Francisco that was worth it. All right, a weird one. The Reds get infielder Davis Wenzel from the Rangers for cash. Wenzel was DFA'd on Monday. an awful 128 batting average in 27 games for Texas. Made his MLB debut this year. So, yeah, just taking a chance if you're Cincy. All right, Yankees get righty Aniel De Los Santos and righty Thomas Balboni Jr. from the Padres for Brandon Lockridge. So they went all in on bullpen, which is not overwhelming, obviously. So, and then obviously the Padres get a AAA outfielder. And De Los Santos, high ERA, but under club control for another couple of years. So that's a risk trade for the Yankees, like we were talking about with the Giants and the Guardians with the Alex Cobb deal. And the Padres get another proven commodity, lefty Martin Perez from Pittsburgh for lefty Ronaldez Jimenez. So San Diego gets Martin Perez, a veteran that's, I think that ballpark is going to suit him really well. Martin Perez, I felt, always had success in larger ballparks. But not good this year in Pittsburgh. But 2 years ago, he had an under 3 ERA and was an all-star. So I don't hate that trade for San Diego. The Red Sox get Luis Garcia from the Angels for 4 prospects. So Ryan Zafirgan, Matt Lugo, Jefferson Vargas, and Nico Cavada. So 4 prospects to Angels for Luis Garcia. So not bad. 5-1 with a 3.71 ERA. Red Sox, I think, needed bullpen help. Again, like the Yankees, not overwhelming. But yeah, Boston has Justin Slayton on the IL with the elbow injury. So this acquisition makes some sense. The Orioles get Gregory Soto from Philly for Seth Johnson and Moises Chausse. So Soto literally pitched for Philadelphia last night, and now he's on Baltimore. Over 4 ERA. I don't love that trade for Baltimore. He literally got shelled by the Yankees last night. Meanwhile, you're going to have to face the Yankees in one more regular season series and potentially in the playoffs. So not ideal for Baltimore. I get it. They needed relievers. But Philadelphia did need some bullpen help. We talked about the Kiermaier-Yarbrough thing. That was kind of in the Flaherty deal. San Francisco gets Mark Hanna from the Tigers for Eric Silva. I don't love what the Giants are doing. A lot of buying and selling. They're trying to be, pick one direction. Them and the Cubs. Pick one freaking direction and stay with it. And, I think the Cubs are a much better team than the Giants. And I just think that the Giants are just living in the past a little bit to this day. But, I don't love that deal for San Francisco. And then we'll see about Silva. The D-backs get Dylan Floro from Washington for third baseman Andres Chaparro. Nice ad for Arizona, over 2 ERA. And then a really good return for the Nats with Chaparro. The O's get Austin Slater and infielder Levan Soto from the Reds for player Vinny later or cash. Just bench guys for Baltimore. Nothing inspiring. Interesting deal. These two teams made a trade a few years ago, and here they make another one. The Rays get Dylan Carlson from St. Louis for righty Sean Armstrong. Carlson's just been terrible for a while now. He needs a change of scenery. And Armstrong, I feel like, can use one too. In a weaker NL Central, I think he'll pitch better. Dylan Carlson's in the AL East now. Isn't he such a Rays guy in terms of, that guy's going to figure it out? this just feels like that kind of ad for the Rays. They get him, and then they have Chris Morel from the Cubs. I think those two guys could very well be players for Tampa. The Phils get Tanner Banks from the White Sox for middle infielder William Bergolla. Aaron Banks, over 4 ERA, 55 strikeouts in 48 innings. So the Phillies give up a good prospect in Bergolla for him, but Bergolla doesn't have a place in Philadelphia long term, so it makes sense. The O's get Eloy Jimenez from the White Sox for lefty Trey Mago. Jimenez has just been stinking up the joint this year. 245 homers, 16 RBIs, 65 games due to injury. He's in the final year of his 6-year, $43 million deal that includes team options for 25 and 26. So we'll see if that's a change of scenery. AL East, in a loaded lineup, he could just stick him in the 8 or the 9 hole. But he's just been a disappointing player his whole career, right? He's always been injured, and he just never lived up to the hype that was placed on him when the White Sox got him for Jose Quintana back in the day. And we all criticized the Cubs for overpaying at the time. But again, we talked about this earlier. It's not fun, not ideal when you're traded multiple times, whether you're a highly regarded prospect or if you're like in a situation like him or like Gleyber Torres with the Yankees, who wasn't traded today. They just hasn't put it all together. Ironically, it has another ex-Cub prospect. All right, the Mets get Huascar Brazobin from the Marlins for outfield third baseman Wilfredo Lara. Great ad for the Mets. 2.93 ERA out of the pen for the Marlins. He hasn't allowed an earned run since June 30th. And then Lara was the 22 prospect for the Marlins, which isn't a bad return. But you could have gotten one more piece if you were Miami, but I absolutely love this sneaky move by the Mets. The Pirates get Brian De La Cruz from the Marlins for righty Junseok Shim and first baseman Garrett Forster. Above average player. Pittsburgh kind of needed another bat in that lineup. And then the Pirates sent 17 and 18 in their system for him. So I like that trade for Pittsburgh, and they get a nice return in Miami. The Mets also get Tyler Zuber from the Rays for righty Paul Gervasi. He's only pitched in 2 games for the Rays this season. It's a little bit of a risky one for them. The Twins get Trevor Richards from the Blue Jays for infielder Jay Harry. Richards hasn't been very good from Toronto this year. The Rangers get Andrew Chafin from the Tigers. So the Rangers were buying and selling this season. So Chafin, 3.16 ERA. I need to see the return. So Joseph Montalvo, who was the Rangers' 27th prospect, and Chase Lee. Okay, Tigers get a nice return there. The Mets get Paul Blackburn from Oakland for Cade Morris. I don't hate this deal for the Mets. I don't hate it. I think Paul Blackburn's just been stuck in Oakland. He was an all-star a few years ago. And then and I think Oakland did good here in this deal, getting the 25th prospect for the Mets, in Cade Morris. And the Mets needed a pitcher because Kodai Senga out for the rest of the regular season. The Mariners get JT Chargois from the Marlins for righty Will Schoenberg. Chargois a good pickup for Seattle in the bullpen. Schoenberg's a good return. And then the Royals, who I think had a good deadline, get Lucas Eckrig from Oakland for Mason Barnett, Will Klein, and Jared Dickey. So 3.68 ERA, 41 strikeouts in 36 and 2/3 innings. So Barnett, the number 4 prospect in the system, and then Klein 18th. So I like the deal for KC, but Oakland did good here. The Astros get lefty Caleb Ferguson from the Yankees for Kelly Austin. Caleb Ferguson stunk for the Yankees this year. So I get why they moved him, because they went out and got Mark Leiter Jr., which we'll talk about in a little bit. So the Astros taking a chance there. The Angels get Mike Baumann from the Giants for cash. 4.84 ERA. That's a weird one. The D-backs get Josh Bell from the Marlins for a player to be named later or cash. Well, this is because Christian Walker's on the IL with oblique tightness, so it's not surprising that they picked him up. Potential change of scenery guy. The O's get Trevor Rogers from the Marlins for Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers. So Rogers not good this season by his standards, 4.53 ERA, 85 strikeouts, but they gave up a big price. The number 5 prospect in the system in Norby and then Stowers. But yeah, not ideal. And by the way, the Phils got Seth Johnson, who was Baltimore's number 8 prospect in the Gregory Soto deal. Low-key, not a great trade for Baltimore. That's uninspiring, in my opinion. The Red Sox get Lucas Sims from the Reds for Ovis Portis. 3.57 ERA. And then Portis comes from their single-A team. So they're taking a chance with Lucas Sims. Yankees get righty Mark Leiter Jr. from the Cubs for infielder Ben Coles and righty Jack Neely. So Mark Leiter's ERA's not flawless by any stretch of the imagination, but he got injured, and when he came back, he was outstanding in July, which got the Cubs this haul. And Neely was the Yankees' best minor league reliever. Leiter, we'll see how he fits in that Yankee bullpen. It's a nice move, but it's not a moving the needle move, in my opinion, because I still think that they're better relievers on the Yankees currently than Mark Leiter Jr. Pirates get Josh Walker from the Mets for Nicholas Carreno. Don't love that deal for Pittsburgh. But he was good in the minors, Walker. And then before midnight, the Braves reacquire Jorge Soler and Luke Jackson from the Giants for Tyler Matzik and Savin Sabelos. This is running it back, if there isn't another way to describe this. This got a lot of LOLs on the internet, of course. Oh, they're running it back, the 2021 team. The Acuna-Ewing theory team. I mean, the Braves had to do something to keep themselves competitive. Will they win it all again? Probably not, but they couldn't punt. They're too good to punt. If they let's say if they didn't get off to a solid start and those guys got hurt, say, in spring training, then they would have been a seller, probably. But you know how this organization is, and Snicker is, and so you know that they're going to try to win. And then yesterday also the Brewers get Frankie Montas from the Reds for Joey Wiemer, Jacob Junis, and Cash. I don't love Montas. He stunk on the Yankees last year. Or was that the year before? That was the year before. He was hurt all last year, and he only started literally the last. Didn't he start around the bullpen in literally their last game of the season last year? But yeah, that's the Frankie Montas I know. I know he was good on the Reds for a little bit, and then he blew up a little bit. But I like the seal better for Cincy. And I don't like Jacob Junis either, by the way. I just do not like Frankie Montas at all. The Pirates get Jalen Beeks from the Rockies for Luis Peralta. Jalen Beeks was a former Ray. I never disliked him. But Peralta, really good return for him for the Rockies. The Dodgers got Ahmed Rosario from the Rays for Michael Flynn. Rosario's going to be a bench guy for the Dodgers. Flynn, underwhelming. And then, to me, the most lopsided trade of the deadline, the Astros getting Yusei Kikuchi from the Blue Jays for 3 prospects, Jake Bloss, Will Wagner, and Joey Loperfido. Bloss was the Astros' number 9 prospect, Wagner is 13, and Loperfido is a good prospect, or a good up-and-coming player, too. And Bloss was slated to jump to number 2 in the Pipeline's upcoming Astros top 30 prospects midseason re-rankings. So, not ideal. But yeah, Toronto wins this trade going away. And I'm putting that in all freaking caps. And I said this on social media not once, but twice. The Astros gave up the Rudy Gobert package for a back-end starter. Oh, yeah, and watch him pitch well against the Yankees in the ALCS. And it's going to come back and bite me for that take. But it literally felt like a Rudy Gobert package to me. The way it was presented and how Bloss was going to jump to the number 2 spot for the Astro rankings. But this is an awful trade by Dana Brown. Awful. But if they win the World Series, I guess it'll be worth it. But, I've seen trades that teams have done, and they won championships, and the guy left. Or the guy just turned into a bust after the championship. I know this was a free agent signing, but Patrick Corbin, after the Nats won the World Series, turned into a complete bust. I mean, A.J. Burnett, Yankees, is another one that was very maddening. Helped win them a title in 2009 and then kind of flamed out. I'm trying to think of other ones, especially pitching ads, whether it's trade or free agent. So, Toronto fleeced Houston there in my mind. The Guardians get Lane Thomas from the Nats for 3 prospects. They get Alex Clemmy, the lefty, shortstop Rafael Ramirez Jr., and infielder Jose Tena. So Lane Thomas has been good this year. The Guardians did need a bat, but he's not the slam dunk per se. And they gave up a nice package, so the Nats did well here. The Mariners get Justin Turner from the Blue Jays. I don't hate it for Seattle. Justin Turner is a good player. But I just don't think he's the same defensively anymore. To me, he's better suited as a DH. Three-way deal. The Dodgers. Michael Kopech, Tommy Edman, and right-handed pitching prospect Oliver Gonzalez. Obviously, Kopech from Chicago and Edman and Gonzalez from St. Louis. St. Louis gets Eric Feed, Tommy Pham, and Cash from the White Sox, and a player to be named later, Cash from the Dodgers. And the White Sox get Miguel Vargas, infield prospect Joel Perez, Dodger 17 prospect, infield prospect Alexander Albertus, the 23rd prospect on the Dodgers, and a player to be named later, or Cash, also from the Dodgers. Weird trade. I think Feed would do fine in the back end of the rotation in St. Louis. Tommy Pham, I think maybe he'll play better in St. Louis. I like the return for Chicago, getting Vargas and those two other Dodger prospects. Kopech, I think, would be a good add for the Dodgers. Same for Tommy Edman. I think he could be a versatile player for them. So I think all three teams did okay in that deal. I like it the most for the White Sox because I think they sold high on Eric Feed, although it was the Dodgers that gave them the most back. And they sold high, obviously, on Pham and Kopech, too. A weird prospect for prospect trade. Red Sox get Quinn Priester from the Pirates from Nick York. Change of scenery guy. And I personally don't like that deal for the Red Sox. Nick York's put up good numbers this year. And Pittsburgh's going to get him, and Pittsburgh's going to have him with Brian Hayes and Brian Reynolds in that lineup, and you have Paul Skeens. So Pittsburgh's building something special, and that's a team that, in my opinion, is going to be a contender within the next couple of years. The Reds acquired Ty France and cash from the Mariners for catcher Andrew Salcedo. I like Ty France. He just hasn't been very good. The Royals get Mike Lorenzen from the Rangers for Walter Pennington. So the Rangers, I understand why they got rid of Lorenzen. They have DeGrom coming back potentially, and Scherzer's back from injury. So I understand why they did it. They did a little bit of selling, but they're also getting guys back from injury, so I get why they did it. And I don't hate that deal for the Royals either. Lorenzen in the big ballpark, I think he does wonders in there. Tigers get Ricky Vanasco from the Dodgers for cash considerations. Rangers get Carson Kelly from the Tigers for two prospects. The two prospects were catcher Liam Hicks and right-hander Tyler Owens. The Cubs get Isaac Paredes from the Rays for Chris Morel and two other prospects. Cubs get a guy I like in Paredes. Chris Morel could be a change of scenery guy. Not 199 this year for the Cubs, but had 18 homers. So I like Chris Morel on Tampa. And then Paredes, I think, is arguably an upgrade for the Cubs. So the Cubs did a little bit of buying and selling. They kind of did what the Giants did, but I like what the Cubs did better. And then on the prospects going to the Rays, righty Hunter Big, who was the 29th prospect for the Cubs, and then fellow righty Ty Johnson, also going to Tampa. San Diego gets Jason Adam from the Rays for three prospects. I love that deal for San Diego. 2.3 ERA, 24 saves over the last three seasons. So prospects going to San Diego, Dylan Lesko, Homer Bush Jr., and J.D. Gonzalez. So nice trade for San Diego. And then Saturday, the Mets get Jesse Winker from the Nats for Tyler Stewart. I like that deal for the Mets. Jesse Winker's having a good season so far. The Phils get Carlos Estevez from the Angels for Samuel Aldergi and George Klassen. So the Phils get a nice reliever in Estevez for their bullpen. The Red Sox get Danny Jansen from the Blue Jays for Edinson Polino, Cutter Coffey, and righty Gilberto Batista. So the backup catcher, pretty much not an inspiring move for the Red Sox, not a needle mover by any stretch of the imagination. The Brewers get Nick Mears from the Rockies for Bradley Lalocque and Eugenio Herrera. Yankees get Jazz Chisholm Jr. from the Marlins for Jared Serna, Augustin Ramirez, and Abraham Ramirez. I don't hate it for the Yanks. It did cost them a couple of their top prospects, their 19th prospect in Serna and their 20th prospect in Ramirez. But I wasn't sure about this trade when they made it. But he does provide a lot of things that they need, such as speed and versatility. And they have him for a little bit longer under control. But he's another guy that's his second time being traded. And he was a highly touted prospect with the D-backs. And he was traded for Zach Gallen with the Marlins. And we all know who won that trade. It wasn't the Marlins. It was the D-backs who got a Cy Young contender in Gallen. Not that Chisholm was bad for Miami, but he was an all-star 2 years ago. So, nice trade for the Yanks, but the question is Chisholm going to be the difference maker in that offense? The Cubs get Nate Pearson from the Jays for Josh Rivera and Yohendrick Pinango. Pearson was considered untouchable for a while for the Jays. Maybe a change of scenery helps. The Mets get Ryan Stanek from the Mariners for Ryland Thomas. Stanek was really good with the Rays several years ago. He has a lot of strikeouts. We'll see how that works. And then Thomas was the 30th ranked Mets prospect. This was Friday, get Zach Eflin and cash from the Rays for Matt Horvath, Jackson Baumeister, and Matt Etzel. I don't love Zach Eflin. I don't like the fit in Baltimore. He's an ERA over 4. They have 2 pitchers, but neither of them are needle movers. The Mariners get Yimi Garcia from the Jays for Jonathan Clase and Jacob Sharp. Yimi Garcia is a good pitcher. I like that ad for Seattle. The O's got Seranthony Dominguez and Christian Pache from the Phils for Austin Hayes. So we'll see how that one plays out. Pache was a highly touted prospect with the Braves a while ago. Dominguez, very polarizing pitcher. The Red Sox get James Paxton from the Dodgers for Moises Bolivar. So Paxton DFA'd by Boston, or by the Dodgers, and now he's on Boston. And one of the better trades, in my opinion, the Mariners getting Randy Arozarena from the Rays for Aiden Smith, Brody Hopkins, and a player to be named later. I love this deal for the Mariners. I love Randy Arozarena. Was a star in October. And obviously, Julio Rodriguez got hurt the other day. So the Rays get the Mariners' 12th prospect in Smith and the 22nd prospect in Hopkins. So a nice return for the Rays as well. And then it's a lot of trades from over a week ago. All right, winners and losers. I'm going to do this very quickly. We're going to go by division. I think the 2 sellers in the AL East were the winners, in the Rays and the Jays. I think they took advantage of the sellers market and got really good prospects in the return for the guys that they traded away, especially the Jays and the Kikuchi deal. I think the other 3 teams in that division are losers. Yankees, Chisholm and Leiter, to me, aren't not needle movers. I think they needed another bat. Like Yandy Diaz would have helped them. I think they needed another reliever. I think that Tanner Scott would have helped them, or Pete Fairbanks of Tampa. Baltimore loser. those same two relievers that I mentioned with the Yanks could have helped the O's. Eloy Jimenez, to me, is just an injury-prone, disappointing player. It's kind of like Gleyber Torres on the Yankees. He's like the outfield version of Gleyber. Always hurt, doesn't run hard, doesn't move the needle for me. So those two come out as losers. The two AL East contenders come out as losers. And same with the other AL East team that's in the mix, the Red Sox. I feel like they're a loser too. They got 2 arms for their bullpen, and James Paxton, but James Paxton was underwhelming with the Dodgers since the 8-2 record. I think the Red Sox could have done a lot more, and they could have used a lot more pitching help with how the Yankees destroyed their pitching staff over the weekend. So I think the Red Sox are a loser as well. AL Central, Detroit did a good job getting the assets they could get for Flaherty and for some of the other guys. They moved, and you never know with a Skubal, but I think they did the right thing in keeping Skubal because somebody in the offseason come back with the large offer, or they could go the other way and try to win with Skubal. But their big issue is that their offensive talent that they've drafted has yet to develop. That's not Skubal's fault. And that's unrelated to the trade deadline. So to me, the Tigers are a winner for what they got in return for the guys they traded away. Twins are a loser. They could have done a lot more than Trevor Richards. The Royals are a winner. I like them getting that A's reliever, who's pretty good. And they got Lorenzen, so I like what Casey did. Oh, and they got Paul DeJong, too, from the White Sox. That's one that I wasn't expecting. They're probably going to play him at third base or have him come off the bench because Bobby Witt's their shortstop. And he's awesome. Guardians, loser. I feel like they needed starting pitching to help replace the loss of Shane Bieber and some of the other guys that underperformed there. I know Lane Thomas, that they'll improve their offense, but I think they needed more pitching help. The other team in that division is the White Sox. This is a hard one for me, but I'm going to say a loser because Luis Robert and Garrett Crochet are still on their team. But in the case of Robert, he could have more value in the offseason when a team that's trying to win could go out and get him. So I'm putting them as a loser because those two guys are still on the team. They could have gotten a lot for those guys. Just see what the freaking Jays got for a number 5 starter. Just saying. So the White Sox are a loser. The AL West, I think the Rangers, this is a hard one for me with the Rangers. I admire them for saying, like, hey, we're the champs. We're not going to totally give up. I feel like they could have done more, though, so I'm going to say a loser. They could have went out and got, like, maybe one of those Rays guys or somebody that could have helped them offensively. So I'm going to say the Rangers are a loser in that regard. The biggest loser is the freaking Astros, who overpaid for a 5th starter, who saw, he's good numbers against the Yankees. Let's go get that guy. And they give up their soon-to-be number 2 prospect to get him, and more than that. So they're the biggest loser in that division, hands down. The Angels are a loser also. Tyler Anderson's still on their team. He could have helped somebody. Could have helped the Yankees. He could have helped the Dodgers. He could have helped the Orioles. Could have helped the Mets. Could have helped the Twins. So, bad job by the Angels. Oakland did a nice job in that Royals trade, but the Mason Miller injury just hurt them big time. And Brent Brooker's still on their team. They could have gotten something for him. But they're a loser in my mind too. And I think Seattle is a winner because of Arozarena. NL East. I think the Phillies did a good job with Estevez. They've proven their bullpen there. Austin Hayes, 4th outfielder. I mean, the Phillies didn't have to do all that much. I like the Estevez move. Their offense was pretty much set. Their starting pitching is pretty much set. So, they really just had to address their bullpen. To me, they're a winner. The Mets. This is a hard one. I was gonna say loser, but they might actually be a winner. That guy they got from the Marlins is really freaking good. Really underrated. Kind of reminded me when the Yankees got Scott Efros from the Cubs a couple years ago, and then Efros ended up getting hurt. But a really good reliever with a couple years under control from a bad team under the radar. Those are the types of moves you want to make. So, I really like that move for the Mets, and I think the Winker addition for the Mets is humongous as well. So, and Blackburn, I think he'll help too. So I'm going to put the Mets as a winner, but I think some are going to argue loser, and people are going to be like, oh, you're just giving the Mets too much credit. No. I like what the Mets did. The Braves. I said it earlier in the show. They did the right thing by at least giving their fan base some hope and not entirely punting on the year. Listen, I would have got it if they punted on the year if they got off to a slow start and those two guys got hurt during spring training. So, I understand why the Braves went for it. They didn't give up a lot. Soler makes them better. They're a more competitive team. So, I like that what they did. So they're a winner in my eye, too. Marlins are the biggest winner in that division, though. Sorry. I can't believe, again, a seller as the big winner. Miami did outstanding in that Padres deal. They did really well in some of the other deals they made. They did well in the Chisholm deal. So they really replenished their farm system very, very well this trade deadline. So they are, in my mind, the biggest National League sellers winner. The Nationals, to me, are a winner, too. So all 5 teams in the NL East, in my opinion, are winners. And all for different reasons. The Nats, I think, did really well in those sellers trades as well. So, to me, they're a winner. The NL Central, I think the Pirates are a winner. I like the De La Cruz addition. I like them getting Nick York, even though that was a future move. I mean, Martin Perez just wasn't a good fit on Pittsburgh. That's fine. So, I like what Pittsburgh did. Cubs, loser. I know they got a nice prospect back for Leiter Jr., but they could have done a lot more. They could have dealt Bellinger. They could have dealt Horner. They could have dealt Tyon to somebody that was desperate. Mets. They could have dealt some other guys. So, yeah, just getting that small, or not small, but that nice return from the Yankees for Leiter. But they also got Paredes, too, which I got to give them some credit for. In that trade with Morel, but they gave up a lot of guys. I feel like just the Cubs could have done more. It's kind of like the Yankees with Chisholm. They could have done more. In either direction, in the Cubs case. But, yeah. Full disclosure with the Cubs, I just don't like the half-pregnant teams. Are you all in or are you all out? You were in both directions, which I don't like at the trade deadline. Maybe in the offseason you could do something like that, but I don't like when teams are half-pregnant at the trade deadline. The Cardinals. You can make a case either or for them. I'm going to say loser. I feel like there were more things for the Cardinals to improve on. So, to me, they're a loser. They could have done better than Eric Feed and Sean Armstrong. And I like Pham, but they could have done more in either direction. Brewers. I just don't like Frankie Montas at all. They could have done better than Frankie Montas in that rotation. They could have gone for Tyon, who's a little bit better than Montas. They could have tried to get one of those Blue Jay guys if they were willing to do that. But yeah, I don't like what Milwaukee did. Cincinnati's a winner. I like what they did. They got rid of Montas. I think they did well in that trade with the Brewers. That reliever that they gave the Boston, they did an okay job in that return. But I don't dislike what the Reds did. I mean, they just kind of just stood pat. They really didn't have to do much. They were like on the bubble anyway, kind of like the Cards, and Pittsburgh. But I just don't like Frankie Montas, and I thought that he needed to go somewhere else. So that division is done. NLS Dodgers winner. It was the last second, but it was a winner. Getting Flaherty nearly at the buzzer, and Kiermaier, and they get him Ed Rosario. Not flashy trades. I mean, even Flaherty's not the flashiest trade. You know that the Dodgers were going for the big fish. I mean, Jack Flaherty probably was the biggest fish, to be fair. But they're still a winner in my mind. So, good job by them. The Giants, to me, are a loser. Just pick a freaking direction. They trade away the two guys to Atlanta, and they get Mark freaking Canha. Like, pick a direction, Giants. Rockies, they're low-key a winner. I like that reliever they got in that one trade. From Milwaukee. And then you have the D-backs. They really didn't have to do a lot. I mean, I like that the Josh Bell pickup with Walker being out. Like, that's fine. So to me, they're a winner, actually, because they got that guy from the Nats, Dylan Floro, who I like. So, to me, the D-backs are a winner. And, of course, the San Diego Padres might have won the day with the Tanner Scott trade. They did give up a lot, but Tanner Scott's been the best closer, arguably, in all of baseball this year. And the Padres land him, granted for a big package, but I got to applaud the Padres for going for it in the same division with the Dodgers. And you just get through the wild card. And that's been the avenue in the National League the last couple of years. You saw it with the D-backs, you saw it with the Phillies. And to me, the Padres really put themselves in a good position with that trade and with the trade for Luis Arraez. So those two teams actually traded twice this year. So that's kind of funny. But, yeah, San Diego, such a big winner of the trade deadline. All right, so there you have it for the 2024 MLB trade deadline recap show. Next week, so Monday, we're starting the regular shows again, so keep that in mind. Hope you guys have a great night, everyone.